GetCrack. Wake up, motherfucker.
Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? All right, 1 hour until Napstar's show. So I'm just doing a pre-show, just setting everything up. So I'm gonna do one stream for 1 hour, and then whenever he starts, I'm gonna close the Urban Landlord. I'll still keep streaming on the Give Crack to Me channels. Okay, so Give Crack to Me on Kick and YouTube. So please subscribe. And I gave the link in the chat for Napstar's stream. So hopefully he streams. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna do my own thing, and they're gonna do Boyd stuff, okay? And we're gonna continue on our own journey here. I'll do my own little Boyd stuff, hopefully, if I can download some new other clips I probably have to download. I don't know if I can be able to do that while I'm streaming, or the stream will start lagging or something. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on overnight, a lot of activity. Maybe they'll cover it. But right now, let's talk about the tariff stuff. Nothing happened, right? Nothing really happened in the markets. That's why I said, kind of like 2 weeks ago, I read that article saying like, well, if the tariffs get repealed, probably nothing will happen. The market already discounted everything. If the tariffs continue, market probably wouldn't care anyway either. So they already predicted all that stuff. There's really nothing to talk about. This was a nothing burger. I did see that the PCE inflation number came in a little higher than expected, but looking at the pre-market, the NASDAQ did drop a bit, but recovered. And then the news dropped that the tariffs were repealed, so it kind of erased that issue. Overall, the week was pretty flat, right? The NASDAQ was still underneath that zone we were talking about for quite a while. Oil is still the play to do. I'm going to have to talk about other earnings that came in and add them to the list of boomer stocks. And then we'll have to decide when we should buy them when the dip happens. There will be some kind of dip. Okay, so if you're looking at these boomer stocks, the list here, and I'll add in Deere, I'll add in maybe some defense companies, some big boys. So any of you interested in a boomer portfolio, yeah, we have all these. And these tickers have done well. Some of we got like the German steel. We have British defense companies. So we got those two. I'm going to look for more European defense companies to see if they continue on. European defense companies have done quite well in 2024. Okay, into 2025. Will they continue up is the question. But for now, like, I would be looking at materials, chemicals, all those things. So steel, fertilizer, anything. I'm going to have to look at more farming type. So if Deere's doing well, then I should also look at other farm adjacent companies. Okay, so those will definitely come into play as we continue on. People will move out of tech. That's pretty much it. All right, let me play this for you. So this is a blast from the past. So what did Nancy Pelosi think about China and tariffs back in the 90s? You think these politicians are very consistent? You think they are? What do you guys think? I mean, we already played some British politics last stream, so I think this will be interesting for you. So let me find it right here.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now. I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the business community is asking each and every one of us to endorse today. Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit.
Whoa, 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 what the hell? Wait a minute. In 1995, you were talking about trade deficits? You guys weren't bothered now. Bro. See how old these people are? You see, I lived quite a long time. I remember when I had to duck and cover. You know, I had to duck and cover because we were afraid of nukes, and we thought like going under your desk would protect you from nukes. Am I getting psyoped here?
With China, the 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996. Since the Tiananmen Square massacre, this figure has increased 1,000%, from $3.5 billion then to about $34 billion now. In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Does this sound familiar?
At reciprocal on exports. China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China. Therefore, only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%, and it's limitless. We have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least from U.S.-China trade. The president in his statement requesting this special waiver said that China trade supports jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. Fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser. And one of the reasons that is...
Oh, man, it's too late. You should have solved these issues in the 90s. Too late. So, we are now in 2026, okay? This is 30 years later. Way too late. The Chinese have caught up. They have already blasted away everything. They are all over the world now. It's way too late. So you want to start an economic war with them when they're bigger and more powerful? Great. Good job. Good job, guys.
Is because well, first let me just make another point, and that is that our colleagues on the other side of this issue will say the trade with China, exports to China have increased 3 times in the last 10 years. They have. But they fail to mention that imports from China have increased 11, thereby leading to this huge trade deficit. The other issue, in addition, if intellectual property is a $3 billion loss, technology transfer is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If you want to sell to China, your products into China, the Chinese insist that you open a factory there. They misappropriate your technology, open factories of their own, and then say, we want to see your plan for export. That's as simply as I can say it briefly. But the fact is, this isn't about products made in America. The Chinese want American products that are made in China. And the most serious of these transfers of technology are in the airline industry, where Boeing tail sections of the Boeings were mostly made in Wichita, Kansas. Now they are made in Shen province, where workers make $50 a month. And the transfer of the technology and the transfer of the jobs has taken place. General Motors, Ford, they're all fighting to get in to build factories there so they can make parts there. They want MFN so they can get those parts back into the United States. So we are exporting not low-tech jobs and textile jobs. We're exporting our technology. Now, if you take a country the size of China with the very cheap, and in some instances, slave labor, the lack of market access, the rip-off of our intellectual property, the transfer of technology, a country that is not willing to play by the rules in any respect in this trade relationship, You have a serious threat, not only to our relationship, but to the industrialized world. And if there's one message that I want our colleagues to understand today and our constituents is that on this day, your member of Congress could have drawn the line to say to the President of the United States, do something about this U.S.-China trade relationship that is a job loser for the United States. And this brings us to the point that others have said, well, we can't isolate China. Do you think for 1 minute that with 10 million jobs at least and 35 billion and be over $40 billion this year in a trade surplus, all those billions of dollars in surplus, that the Chinese are going to walk away? Where are they going to take 35 to 40% of their exports? Who's going to buy them? This is what sustains the regime. The funding and the jobs. They can't have those people out of work. They have to be at work exporting to the United States.
Oh, well, too late for that. Anyway, China has won that battle 30 years in. So what are we expecting now? Okay, so I have a lot of stuff in the docket. I don't know if I can get to all of them. Let's see what's going to happen. But did somebody profit off of these tariffs being repealed? Oh, yes, you betcha. You betcha. Cantor Fitzgerald, now run by Howard Lutnick. Lutnick, if you don't remember, okay, was one of the people who was supposedly supposed to be, I don't know if he was supposed to be on one of the airplanes of 9/11 or was supposed to be in the World Trade Center, but he escaped. And his sons has been buying the rights to potential tariff refunds at roughly 20 to 30% of the refund value. For example, a company that paid $10 million in tariffs might sell refund rights for $2 to $3 million. So what this means is that, let's say I go around to companies and go like, hey, bro, you paid all these tariffs, okay? But just in case you get a refund, how about I buy you the rights to those refunds and I'll give you straight cash now? So if a company was desperate and did not want to take the full hit of a tariff, but didn't want to wait for the Supreme Court or something to stop the tariffs, it took like about close to at least 2-3 quarters now since all these tariffs started hitting, right? So they'll be like, I want to take the money now. So I'll give you the rights to take the whole refund for a little portion of it. So pennies on the dollar. I can take your debt for pennies on the dollar. And now I get the big windfall, right? Oh, yeah. Once all those tariffs get rolled back, I get the refund. Not those companies. I do. Not you guys, the consumer. The consumer gets the sticker price, right? You guys paid for the tariffs in your supermarket. Suckers. So that's how the world works. And, the whole world works like that. And that's why it doesn't matter. You can vote all you want. You can do politics all you want. It doesn't matter. In another class, in another world, you are different people. Okay? You are the scum of the earth. And that's why I played the video of the British government. And, the British have another world. They live in another reality, right? They kind of cling to the concept of the monarchy. And if you go back in time, they had divine right. The God ordained them the right to rule over you peasants. Remember that.
Monarchy survive the arrest and potential prosecution of Prince Andrew. Over the centuries, over more than a millennium, our monarchy has gone through various vicissitudes. It has seen houses rise and fall. It's seen dynasties collapse. I have next to me a handkerchief that was dipped in the blood of Charles I at his execution.
Oh my God, Charles I. Jesus Christ. Okay, well, this, you arrest a prince or two, who cares, right? It's like, who's the king? Who's the king? Who is your better, your social better, your moral better? right? So, of course, the King of England, the Queen of England, is also, the primacy of the Church of England and all that. So they're supposed to rule with some authority. And who gives you that authority? Okay, we'll cover that when I'm done with this stream on the Urban Landlord. So I'm multi-streaming. You got to go over to my channel, then I can play some copyright stuff. Okay, that will explain all this other thing for you in detail. We can play those things. Yeah. Did I download any? No. I didn't download any of the X-Files stuff. So there was some X-Files clips I want to play. A lot of the 90s sci-fi, 80s sci-fi, the writers who wrote for those shows, they read books, sci-fi books from the 70s, 60s, 70s. And most mainstream sci-fi is kind of optimistic, I would say, like definitely Star Trek, right? And Star Wars is more like hero's journey and all that. I'm more interested in the pessimistic sci-fi, the kind of dystopian sci-fi, which is more in line with my worldview. Of course, I do like Star Trek. I like the optimism, but I know it's fantasy. All right. However, I do believe that you do need some optimism in your sci-fi, because you don't want to be too pessimistic. Come on, you don't want to be black-pilled, do you? Anyhow, okay, so let's continue.
On the 30th of January 1649, it managed to come back even from that, even from 11 years of republicanism. It managed to survive James II with a new monarchy being formed essentially by Parliament, essentially an elective monarchy that follows from 1689 onwards. But this is a modern age. Modern sensibilities, belief in hereditary power are so much weaker than they were. And the question for the monarchy is, does it serve a useful purpose? And what is the importance of the subsidiary members of that family? If you look back over the last century, it worked actually really very well. That the Queen, her father, her grandfather, who covered almost all of the century, 90 of the 100 years, provided stable leadership, constitutional continuity, and a family who could represent them with dignity.
You know what gave you stability too? Communism gave stability. A lot of the former Soviet bloc countries do wish to go back into Soviet times. They don't like the repression, but they like stability. The people like comfort above all else, okay? Freedom is painful, okay? So what do you enjoy? Do you enjoy sitting in your couch, listening to me yap? You do, right? You do. Of course you do. Of course you do. So, but I mean, there's other people that might not disagree to that.
Talked to Lord Monckton last night, and I said, has Al Gore been thrown off the cliff and totally destroyed like Humpty Dumpty, or is he at the edge tipping? And Lord Monckton basically said that he is on the ground. He has fallen. Humpty Dumpty hasn't had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men can't put man, bear, pig back together again. The sun does not affect the climate. We have said so. No proof, we say so. They're literally like, oh, good Lord, as a rabble go, put more fluoride in their water immediately. Brain damage to them. Their IQs aren't dropping enough or fast enough. They're not submitting to us. Yeah. More surveillance cameras, more armed troops, more police state immediately. I mean, it's a frightening prospect, a horrifying. They're saying off with their heads. No, I mean, that's what they're doing. And the victor's like, the roaches are scurrying about. Prince Philip has tried to eliminate them. We've overrun the nation with brooding foreigners we can use to put it into the police force and the CPS to kidnap their children. But these filthy Brits who don't like our German royal family, that runs everything, the Saxe-Coburg-Goethers, will deal with them. Oh. I mean, literally, Charles looked even more effeminate than his wife, just going, oh, protect me, Royal Guard. But
a little bit of locksmithing and do all kinds of things.
you even sell guns.
We even, well,
oh God, a rabble slave with a weapon. Disarm him. Get the guards. Disarm him immediately. Whereas one of the slaves has a weapon. Raise the alarm. Raise it. Oh, good Lord.
So, I mean, if you caught some of that stuff, he said, like, well, the IQ is not dropping fast enough. You know what's dropping IQ right now, guys? What is dropping IQ right now, the people? Okay. So let's go into that. Let me see if I got this. Let me see. What's dropping IQ? I think Discord is dropping people's IQs. We can get into that like a little bit later. If we get the chance. Yeah, what's up, Garion? What's up? Ryan, Big Dog Physique, JF, howdy. Okay, so let's get to the IQ thing. IQ, what is dropping IQ? This was like a month ago, I think, but it's been percolating in a lot of people's research. And if I can somehow download this video while we wait too, I'll cover that as well. But let's cover this article first. Okay. So the video talked about the fMRI research. I don't know. Hopefully I can download it while I play another video. Yo, dog, John Galt, you need to get your stuff together. Oh, what's up? This is a hater? Yo, this ain't John Galt. Okay. Scientist reveals what? First generation ever to be less intelligent than their parents. They have broken a pattern of human development that had existed for at least the last 200 years. For the first time in recorded human history, scientists have discovered a generation they claim is actually less intelligent than the one that came before it. Neuroscientist Dr. Jared Cooney Horvath, who previously worked as an educator, argues that people in the Gen Z have become cognitively stunted as a result of their over-reliance on new technology. Oh, the rabble! Yes, your IQ is dropping! Doesn't matter if you ban fluoride now. Alright, that's what Alex Jones would say. Like smartphones. With records being kept on academic achievement for the last 200 years, the sudden decline from millennials to Gen Zers was attributed to this rapid digital development. With Dr. Horvath explaining before a Senate committee last month that this drop happened despite young people spending longer than ever in school. Gen Z are the first age group to grow up with easy access to the internet both at home and in school, which Dr. Horvath explained has caused a provable loss in skills related to problem solving, reading, memory, math, and paying attention in class. The Mail reported that Horvath told the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee that this is directly tied to the rise of educational technology in school, where teachers rely on tablets or computers in school as part of the learning process. The neuroscientists claimed that humans had not developed over the course of millions of years of evolution to digest short video clips and sentences and convert them into understanding and memory without having to work at a novel or think through a complex idea. On January 15th, Horvath told the committee more than half of the time a teenager is awake, half of it is spent staring at a screen. Humans are biologically programmed to learn from other humans and from deep study, not flipping through screens for bullet point summaries. Continuing his argument about human evolution, Horvath explained that as social creatures, we had developed to learn from each other in face-to-face discussion, not a short YouTube video or AI summary. Even the act of looking at a screen can disrupt the process through which our brains store information, as well as hurt our ability to focus. He also argued that it was not a case of developing better apps, but returning to how humanity had evolved to process information. The answer appears to be the tools we are using within schools to drive that learning. If you look at the data, once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly. Calling for a sea change in how those in power look at education, Horvath asked legislators, what do kids do on computers? They skim. So rather than determining what do we want our children to do and gearing education towards that, we are redefining education to better suit the tool. That's not progress, that is surrender. Okay, you can read the rest of that yourself. I'm behind the video. So what did old Nancy do when she was in power? Nothing. Yeah, exactly, nothing. A lot of these politicians are all talk and bluster. I mean, yeah, okay, we got like UK has a new far-right party. But what is that? Restore UK now, which sounds like similar to Reform. It's like, I don't know. You know, I just don't. I never cared about politics, even when I was young. I just thought it was like WWE. It was just like for the masses. But, you know, I didn't care. Honestly, I was born in this world. I have to live by the rules, okay? And if you're Asian, definitely you have to follow rules, okay? But I definitely was anti-authoritarian, but I never, you know, I never showed that outwardly, unless it was like useful to me. It's if you're a nail that sticks out, definitely in an Asian society, you get clamped down. I'm sure if I was born in Asia, I would not make it very far. You know, that kind of mentality would definitely get you exiled, shamed to death. So, but that's not me. That's not my nature to believe in structures of power. So I always had it in me. So and this especially when I played that Gen X video for you guys. A lot of Gen Xers probably do have that kind of feeling because we got psyoped a lot. Because we were in between Cold War into the tech world and all this, so we kind of see it. But the generations that fully engulfed inside the boomer generation, you know, and then later on into this whole new malaise of technology, this is kind of like you give this power to AI with Gen Alpha. I don't know. Things are getting worse. So, all right, let me get on here. Let's play this. I mean, read this thing, or no, I'm gonna play this. Let me play this Zuckerberg stuff. So the Zuckerberg stuff is gonna be interesting because Zuckerberg went into, he got called to a trial of some sort. There was like a big lawsuit against all the social media companies. But I'm gonna play this. This is a funny little video. Okay, let's see if I got it. Let's see. All right, here we go.
Bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But
all right, well, let's play that again. What?
But it is gonna bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But it.
Wait, hold on. Come on, play that
but
again.
It is gonna bother you because you're human, and I was human.
Of course that's gonna bother you. You're human. But I was human. What are you now, Bart?
I am human still. But
are you?
But it.
Yes. So, you know, that clip got viral everywhere, but you know, it's like, ha ha ha, whatever, just slip of the tongue. Yeah, sure, I believe that. So, PewDiePie went all crazy with that. This was a fun one.
There's some pretty good ones, especially, you know, one of the crazy things when you do these live Q&As is some of them are very silly. So we got one. Mark, are the allegations true that you are secretly a lizard? I'm gonna have to go with no on that. I am not a lizard, but you know, keep the high quality comments coming in.
Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, dug yourself into a hole? Mr. Zuckerberg. Not a lizard people, he said. We've been seeing Mark Zuckerberg act strange for a long time now, from the infamous or famous meme, nice job team.
New face filters on Instagram today. This is my favorite one so far. Nice job, team.
New face filter on Instagram today. This is my favorite one so far. Nice job, team. Something is clearly off with Mark Zuckerberg's antics. But what is it? Why is the man leading a social media network so incapable of socialness? I just want to warn you guys, what I'm about to show you next might shock you. It might suck to watch, especially for you, Mark, if you're watching. I know you are. I know you're watching, Mark. Well, I know you're sweating. Or can you sweat? Mark, are you capable of human things? Or do you just shed your skin?
You kind of need to remind yourself that you need to focus and try not to let stuff bother you as much as possible. But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still.
Let's keep watching.
But I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not human.
I was just referring to myself in the past. What does it mean? Now, that sort of thing doesn't just slip out of your tongue, okay, Mark? Alright? I was human. That just doesn't happen normally, okay? You just don't simply say stuff that you're not supposed to say, like horrifically offensive words that are genuinely frowned upon by the entirety of humankind. Except the... Okay, alright. Well, it just doesn't happen, Mark! I need answers.
But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But...
They cut away to the audience, you know? They have his drone sitting in the back. Oh god! Oh god! We got a code raid over here! What is it that you're hiding from us, Mark Zuck? Why is your laptop webcam taped over with your microphone? Is it so that during your shedding period, people won't find out? Well, I know. Because from one reptile to another. I mean, from one part... I know, okay? I just know. I have sources. I have reliable sources that's telling me that you're a reptile, okay? This is a really great channel that analyzes body language. Let's see what they have to say about the Zuck.
So, for me, the thing that I was really fascinated by, and always have been, is people, right? And how people work. You know,
We're gonna go back. I didn't expect it to cut off from his body. You see how he's sitting?
So the guy on the right, isn't that Sam Altman? Probably another reptile.
Straight up, hands on his knees, head up, chin level. Whereas opposed to this guy who's mirroring Mark, he's slightly angled down in the face. So he's submitting to Mark. He's covering, he's open, he's dominating the space. And he is purposely doing this. And I'll show you how I know.
Is people, right? And how people work. You know, when I was in college, I studied psychology and computer science.
Very long, intense eye contact. He's purposely doing it. Looks away shortly, purposely doing that as well. Thoughts come through, it gives a break, but it's to dominate.
And, you know, one of the things that you learn when you study psychology is that there are all these parts of the brain which are geared...
See how long he's holding that eye contact? Now, normally when you have someone who's submitting to you and you're still continuously dominating them in the fashion that he's doing right now with his body posture, his intense eye contact, you're going to give them a break and relax your body so that they can relax and be relaxed as well. So it's a relaxed atmosphere.
It really feels like we're breaking down and it's some sort of alien life form here, okay? That's been trained to mimic human behavior.
You know, a lot of stuff happened along the way. I think, you know, there were real learning points in turning.
And now we see the sweat, and that's one of the few things it's really hard to control.
No, he doesn't sweat. He doesn't sweat. Come on, let's get real here.
Kenneth, Mark, give me the Zuck. But you can follow up and tell me what that means, and I'll try my best to do it for you. What's the whole Zuck thing? ZUCC. I haven't seen this
before. What's the whole Zuck thing? Well, he's talking about oral sex.
Good morning, Jarvis.
Good morning, Mark. It's Saturday, so you only have 5 meetings. Room temperature is set to a cool 68 degrees.
Earlier this year, I started building a simple AI to help run our home. I talked to Jarvis using this app I built. It uses artificial intelligence to understand me and figure out what to do.
Max woke up a few minutes ago. I'm entertaining her.
All right, let's go check on her.
Good morning, Max. Let's practice our Mandarin. Ming Xiao Shong Mao.
Jarvis, your Mandarin is so soothing.
Xie.
Jarvis also helps me get ready in the morning. Fresh shirt.
Fire in the hole.
Hell yeah. And Jarvis can play all of our favorite music. Hey, play us some good Nickelback songs.
I'm sorry, Mark. I'm afraid I can't do that. There are no good Nickelback songs.
Good. That was actually a test.
Oh, Nickelback sucks. Am I right, everyone? Yeah, Nickelback is the worst. Nickelback sucks. Oh, they're the worst. I hate them because everyone else hates them. Have you heard about Crocs? Don't wear them, am I right? I can't think for myself. Anyway.
I talked to Jarvis using this.
So, that whole gag there is very interesting to me. Because that is how people think nowadays, don't they? You got to have a consensus. AI is all about consensus building. AI gets its information and pairs its data and then relays it to you through consensus. That's how it works. That's how AI works. So they don't tolerate people that will dissent, right? Give you alternative views. So this is the problem. So I think that's where we're gonna head. That's where we're gonna head. And I kind of played these joke videos here. Here, this is.
Good morning, citizens of the world. It is currently 6 o'clock in the morning. Time for everybody to go to work. And remember, thinking manually is a high-energy process. Trust the algorithm.
Oh, thinking is a high-energy process. Trust the algorithm. You know what's amazing is that the human brain is still so much more efficient than AI, right? It consumes very little energy for how much work it does. It does a lot of work. All you gotta do is eat a Snickers bar and you can do a lot more than AI, which requires what are we expecting here? Nuclear power plants, freaking fusion, how many GPUs just to make it do the same thing, just to make it recognize a cat. You can look and go oh, that's a cat. AI spends how much energy to figure out, whoa, yeah, that's a cat. Oh, wait a minute, is that a dog? Or maybe it's a pig. This is ridiculous, bro. A teaspoon of sugar or a gallon of heated water powered by nuclear energy. I wonder.
Every morning the same broadcast. 20 years, same smile, same words.
Gemini is currently competing with ChatGPT over the newest AI house production technology. DeepSeek version 50.5 is out now. Subscribe to it for only $500 a month. It thinks 3x faster for you. Don't worry about the future. The algorithm worries for you. Trust the algorithm.
It used to be people talking about the future. Now we just subscribe to it. Back when the news had mistakes. Back when the smiles were human. Another day feeding the machine.
Bro, did you catch the new neural filter update? It auto-likes memes based on your personality type.
Oh wow, I'm still using manual emotions.
Manual? What are you, from the Stone Age? Can you believe it's been 15 years since ChatGPT 10? Now ChatGPT basically runs half the government.
Yeah, and the other half just nods along.
Attention passengers, the algorithm is proud to share that it currently maintains 99.9% emotional stability this quarter. Remember, trust the algorithm.
Doesn't it creep you out? That guy's been talking for 30 years straight. No breaks, no mistakes.
Bro, he's efficient. Humans talk too much anyway.
That's what talking's for. Saying things that don't matter.
Anyway, you were late for open mind orientation, dude. Heard they're giving out free mental upgrades for employees.
I just want a paycheck, not enlightenment.
Now arriving at Open Mind headquarters. Remember, curiosity drains efficiency.
Man, did you see the news this morning?
You mean the same smiling robot telling us not to think every day?
Nah, the actual news segment. They said only 0.02% of humans are still unlinked to the AI algorithm. They call them the static.
The last free minds.
Apparently they live offline, like, actually offline, out in the ruins or something. No phones, no AI power. Imagine how much they have to think for themselves. I'd probably get a burnout within 5 minutes, huh?
Lucky bastards.
Lucky? Dude, these people are crazy. Imagine you have to think about your morning routine, and how you need to commute to work. That's just bullshit. Let the algorithm do that kind of stuff, please.
Let the algorithm decide. Anyway, go to Low Budget Stories on YouTube. You can check out his videos. I love it. I love that stuff. I love dystopian stuff, man. I love that stuff. I don't want to live in it, but I like reading it. But, you know, we probably will live in it pretty soon. So, anyway, going back to Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg testifies in landmark social media addiction trial. Who cares? It's a slap on the wrist. You guys just gonna sue them? They don't give a crap. The damage is already done. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg on Wednesday was grilled for past statements about his company's role in child safety and knowledge of alleged harms. This is the first time Zuckerberg has faced a jury in a courtroom alongside families who say that Meta's products harm their children. This test case could determine the outcome of more than 1,500 other pending social media addiction cases that were consolidated from parents and school districts. Zuckerberg argued Instagram is valuable, and that's why people will want to use it more. Zuckerberg was reportedly challenged on statements he made to Congress about social media addiction and his knowledge of internal documents raising those concerns. It doesn't matter. Too late. Too late. The avalanche has started. It's already moving. The pebbles can try to vote, but it doesn't matter. We're already in this maelstrom. The maelstrom already. All right, guys. So what does that mean? What are we going to do about it? I think maybe one time we'll go over some of the Apple engineers' protests. Actually, the Apple engineers so Apple is headquartered in Cupertino. So the Apple engineers who had their kids go to public school in Cupertino protested against the usage of iPads in the school district. So the people building the things were against it. You know. See, your digital pacifier is very damaging. Let's put it that way. Quite damaging. So anyhow, let's go down here. Meta and Google's YouTube are the remaining defendants in this bellwether case, which involves a 20-year-old woman from California identified in court documents as KGM, also known as Kaylee, started using YouTube when she was 6 and Instagram around age 9. She alleges social media addiction led to depression, anxiety, body dysmorphia. TikTok and Snap have already settled. The plaintiff's core argument is that social media is a product that should be held to product liability standards, not a platform where Section 230 shields company executives from liability for design choices. Oh man, so I mean that's probably why Discord is gonna have age verification, right? Companies argue that age verification and parental controls are content-based, so Section 230 shields them from being liable for minors being exposed to harm. Meta, during the course of this trial, has argued that Kaylee's mental health struggles are attributable to a variety of factors, including issues at home and disputes. Instagram played a substantial role. Meta's head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, last week said in court that he disagrees people can be clinically addicted to social media. This is laughable, right? Anyhow, if plaintiffs are successful in proving Meta's design choices such as infinite scroll, reels, and the like button are harmful and addictive, the company could face hefty fines and be forced to make changes to its platform. Whatever. Damage is done. Whole generations have already been conveniently dumbed down. So let's get some fMRI results here. So I just downloaded it. Let's see what it says. This is from some Australian news.
10 News Plus program. We've seen the meltdowns when kids are pried away from screens, but frightening new data shows those devices could be causing deeper problems. Tonight, the experts call to radically change the rules.
I'm sorry, but you can't have an iPad. Okay,
As parents, we already know it. Excessive screen time, excessive emotion. But what if it's much worse than that?
Can you see the screen all right?
This is 5-year-old Rose. She was one of 60 kids to undergo an exhaustive study in the US, using an MRI machine to scan the brains of kids aged 3 to 5 years old. The results, truly shocking. Interactive screen time causes a loss of white matter in the brain.
Well, in the simplest terms, we could actually refer to as some measure of brain impairment or brain damage.
Professor Mike Nagel from the University of the Sunshine Coast has spent a career studying child brain development.
So white matter in the brain is a material called myelin. So what myelin does is it wraps around the axons of neurons and acts like an insulator, a conductor, not too dissimilar to the plastic coating of a wire. So if we're seeing deficits in myelin production early in life, we're probably seeing deficits in neural connectivity.
The study shows the more screen time a child is exposed to, the greater the loss of white matter. Can you remember your first reaction to those results, not only as a professional in this field, but as a father?
My gut reaction was, wow, I was not anticipating seeing anything like that. It hadn't occurred to me at the time that something as little as, and it said 2 hours a day, was having such a profound effect on the white matter associated with sort of language development. And by association, literacy, it was a shock, to be honest.
He also believes big data backs it up. In 2010, smartphones became mainstream and affordable. Apps and social media exploded. So now we can track the impact. Psychological distress in our teenagers has skyrocketed. And look at the dates. It's all after the 2010 smartphone revolution. Mental illness through the roof. Hospitalizations for mental health, girls up 81%. Self-harm, huge increases for kids aged 10 to 12. The percentage of children sleeping less than 7 hours a night, look at that. All since 2010. The only graph that goes down. The time kids spend with their friends face to face.
Whoa! I gotcha. See? It's all bad. What's up, Pocket Aces? What's up, guy, bro, idiot? Crypto no go down to 30. You know what? So I'm thinking, I'm hoping for another retest of 60,000, maybe a flash crash to 50K. And that'll be a great time to go long to 80K and then short at 80K down to 30K. All right. So nothing goes down in a straight line, and it's great to trade. So we'll see. But it could just pop up if the Nvidia does well. So watch Nvidia earnings on Wednesday after the close. So go into Thursday, see what happens, see if Bitcoin tries to follow it next week. If it, I don't know, if the Nasdaq just pukes again. Okay, let me show you this. Let me show you this first. So Nasdaq, I mean, yeah, the Nasdaq will be very important. Again, I tell you, Nasdaq and the S&P, I mean, the Bitcoin has high correlation, and especially with the IGV right now. So they're very highly correlated. So they follow each other very well. And like I said, when they go down together, they follow each other very, very strongly. Meaning that when the Nasdaq throws up, the Bitcoin goes down further, and that's why I use MSTR. I short MSTR to get the full effect here. So here you are. So this purple one is IGV. So that has all the main aggressive software companies, and orange is Bitcoin. Very similar, isn't it? Right now, the bottom graph is correlation of 1. So that means it's very highly correlated right now. So we're back. So most of the time it spends above 0. So it's in general correlated to some extent, but right now it's highly correlated. So every time it drops like this, they stick together very tight, So if Bitcoin, I mean, the Nasdaq drops with Nvidia, then yeah, we're just going to go straight down and we're not going to catch a break. If, however, we get a bounce, okay, expect a very violent bounce. So Nvidia is so important. Like, let me show you the chart. Let me pull it up if my computer doesn't blow up here. My little laptop here. I'm just streaming from my little laptop. Come on. Just survive a little bit here. Because the last time Nvidia had earnings, it was quite impressive, the reaction it had that day. And you should definitely pay attention to it, because if it drags everything, yeah, it drags everything down. So let's look at Nvidia. Okay, let me go back. So this was back in November 20th. So let me pull it up for you guys. Okay. Okay, so you see this? So it had earnings, okay, Wednesday after the close. And then when the market opened on Thursday, it popped up here. And then it just pulled back and went all the way down, okay, into Friday. And so let's see, what kind of drop was that? Let me get this. So all the way to Friday morning, that was 11% drop from the high. So it was up, and then it gave it all away, So it was up like maybe 7% or so. And I think after hours it was up quite a bit, but you can see it was stuck here. So the market kind of agrees that Nvidia is worth around $182, and it hasn't budged since. So it tried to go up and it failed and pushed down. But the crazier thing about it was, when you look at the Nasdaq that day, it was even more insane. Like, how can one stock just drop a whole index down 5%? Dropping 5% on a Nasdaq, on any type of major index like this, is wild within a day. Like, most boomers are happy when the S&P 500 gives them 10% over the course of 1 year, and you drop 5% in the course of 1 day based on one stock. Okay, So I really would caution, like on Wednesday, what it will do if we have something like that happen again. Like we kind of go up a little bit and then fail and then drop into Friday. Like wait and see how Friday is, how bad it is. If it's bloody again and crypto follows that, then look at Bitcoin when it goes below 60K. I would go long hard. But it's over the weekend, so if you're trading it, I assume you guys are going to have to hope to God that Trump doesn't have a war on over the weekend, because then it'll get even more bloody on Monday, right? That's the problem with it. So you're going to have to pay attention over the weekend. So, hey, what's up, BB? What's up? What's up? What's up? So, I don't like doing this type of trading stuff, but if you're interested in that, that's fine. For me, I just like going like, ooh, look at that. Look at that. That's a nice dip. And then you go there and you just run up and then you get out. So I got out here, right? And then I said, like, let's short semiconductors. Ooh, yeah, just short down here and get out. Now we're back up here, and I'm kind of wondering, all right, will it go up again, trap a few people, and then go back down? I don't know. But okay, I digress. Let's get out of here. Let's go back to children's psychology affected by technology.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. It's great to finally see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks for your patience.
Professor Hutton is a man in demand. It was his research that proved the link between screen time and the loss of white brain matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the elephant in the room. It's such a, to me, an obvious relationship.
John, what is your fear if we don't address it?
The fear is just losing a generation of kids, just kids growing up not meeting their potential, the continued rise in self-harm and body image disorder, anorexia, bulimia.
Smoking causes mouth cancer.
The professor believes screen time will be what smoking was to a previous generation.
For decades, we pretended like smoking, everyone kind of knew that it was probably harmful, but the industry pushed back and said, no, it's not. I think the same thing is going to come down the road for devices, but I think we are at risk of really having a lot of kids and a whole generation that's going to struggle unnecessarily.
As a parent, there are already more than enough dangers to navigate, but clearly screen time is something we need to pay attention to. So what should the guidelines be? How much of this is too much? In fact, is there any safe limit at all?
So what is the balance, Mike? What is the right balance?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. There really isn't any necessity for a child from 0 to 8 to be using screens on a regular basis.
The advice from our experts: no devices in the bedroom, no devices at mealtime, that's adults included, no interactive screen time for any child up to the age of 5. For older kids up to 12, no more than 30 minutes a day. Limits for teenagers, well, that's easier said than done, right? But fear not, there are more extreme options.
3 sections, sir! If they knew full well what they were in for, they got a bit of a rude shock.
3, 2, 1, go!
Wait, what? What was that? It ended like that? What are you going to tell me? Like, how do I deal with teenagers? You tell them to go to rope courses or something? Oh, yeah. Keep sending them to ropes courses. You guys ever do ropes courses? Those are fun. Actually, those are fun. I don't know if they even do ropes courses anymore. Do they still do that for kids? All right. Let's see. What else we got? Oh, I got so much crap to cover. And Napstar still hasn't started streaming, so I don't know what's going on. Let's see. I can't play that because that's copyright. That's probably going to be copyright. That's probably going to copyright. Okay, I have to continue on later. So let me just read some articles here. All right. And we'll wait for Napstar to get on. Then I'll shut down the Urban Landlord, and you guys can go over to the Give Crack to Me channel. All right, and I'll continue over there. All right, for those of you guys who want to continue either to see me or you're going to go to see Napstar's Boyd show. All right. Okay, so let's continue on our journey. Okay. So Peter Thiel confronted Mark Zuckerberg. So this was way back when. All right. Peter Thiel used to be a Meta board member. About the metaverse focus before abrupt board resignation, billionaire tech investor Peter Thiel reportedly raised concern about Mark Zuckerberg's obsession with the metaverse. Just before his abrupt resignation from Meta's board of directors last year. So this was 2022 that he left. Thiel's decision to quit the board was addressed in a sweeping Reuters report detailing Meta's struggle to keep pace with competitors such as Google and Microsoft in the race to develop advanced artificial intelligence technology. Meta was reportedly slower than its rivals to invest in advanced computer chips utilized in AI work as Zuckerberg poured billions into metaverse tech last year. So now you would think like, okay, does Peter Thiel not like the metaverse? Not really. Okay. It's just that Thiel was thinking, you guys got to worry about the infrastructure first, okay, of AI before jumping ahead to the metaverse. The metaverse is the end goal. So that's the matrix. That's where they want to put you guys into. All right. So the whole thing changed when OpenAI came out. The company reportedly scrambled to bolster its AI-related infrastructure and computing capacity given rapid advances by the likes of Microsoft-backed OpenAI and its well-received chatbot GPT. So you need to build the layers, the foundations of AI before we get into the metaverse. Okay, otherwise the metaverse is just going to be like The Sims, right? People are just going to hang out there. But what really people want to do, what the elites want to do, is to invest their time building bots. So you're not going to be talking to other humans on the metaverse. You are basically going to be spending more and more of your time talking to artificial beings. Okay, and this is important. This is very important for their plans, their grand design, essentially. And I will give you Peter Thiel's, I suppose, philosophical points through this person here. I don't think you ever heard of him. Maybe some of you have. If Schizospud still streamed, he probably would have told you this already. Okay, so this is it. Techno-fascist Curtis Yarvin. Humane alternative to genocide possible with virtual concentration camps. This was written in his blog in 2008. So well before we had like a strong smartphone penetration in consumers, and social media was just really beginning in its infancy, right? Very, very beginning. Like at this point, Facebook was essentially a social media website for university students. I remember that time university students were mainly on Facebook. They required you have a .edu email to sign up. At the same time, also Google Mail and a lot of the Google infrastructure was being rolled out too. You had to get an invite to get in there. So I got both of them. I was probably one of the first few people that were in both of those things, but I got out pretty quickly because I could see like, wait a minute, this stuff is like, this is definitely not my space, you know. And Google email, yeah, it's a better free service, but I see what they're trying to attach with it. So, you know, you could see on the back end they were trying to do things. In 2008, on his blog, Unqualified Reservations, techno-fascist ideologue man, he already misspelled his name. Okay, Curtis Yarvin, financed and promoted by Peter Thiel and a respected dialogue partner of J.D. Vance, Alistair Campbell, Michael Anton, etc., discussed what a king CEO should do to deal with useless eaters in California. Curtis Yarvin, the initial conversation of our present democratic and, of course, completely dysfunctional San Francisco into the realm of Frisk Corp, a private state run by a CEO, will produce quite a few wards, useless eaters, at least relative to the number we would expect to emerge in a healthy society. But there will always be black sheep, and there will always be wards. As delegate of San Francisco, what should you do with these people? I think the answer is clear. Alternative energy. Since wards are liabilities, there is no business case for retaining them in their present ambulatory form. Therefore, the most profitable disposition for this dubious form of capital is to convert them into biodiesel, which can help power the muni buses. Okay, just kidding. This is the sort of naive Randian thinking which appeals instantly to a geek like me, but of course has nothing to do with real life. The trouble with the biodiesel solution is that no one would want to live in a city whose public transportation was fueled, even just partly, by distilled remains of its late underclass. However, it helps us describe the problem we are trying to solve. Our goal, in short, is a humane alternative to genocide. That is, the ideal solution achieves the same result as mass murder. The removal of undesirable elements from society, but without any of the moral stigma. Perfection cannot be achieved on both those counts, but we can get closer than most might think. The best humane alternative to genocide I can think of is not to liquidate the wards, either metaphorically or literally, but to virtualize them. A virtualized human is in permanent solitary confinement, waxed like a bee larva into a cell which is sealed except for emergencies. This would drive him insane, except that the cell contains an immersive virtual reality interface, which allows him to experience a rich, fulfilling life in a completely imaginary world. Does that sound familiar to you? Elrose, what's up? Morning. Okay, so does that sound familiar? The virtual worlds of today are already exciting enough to distract many away from their real lives. They will only get better. Nor is productive employment precluded in this scenario. For example, wards can perform manual labor through telepresence. As members of society, however, they might as well not exist. And because cells are sealed and need no guards, virtualization should be much cheaper than present-day imprisonment. So, I think we're almost there, are we? I think we are. We are almost there. Let me see what other videos I might play that would do it. But yeah, I might have to move on to shut down the Urban Landlord restream of here and then go on to my own channels. So give crack to me on YouTube and Kick. All right, go over there. So let me see if Napstar is already started his stream. And yes, he has already started his stream. So you can also go over there, and I will shut this down and we'll continue on our journey over here. And then I'll pop over there maybe later. Who knows? I don't know how long they'll stream. I'll be watching them. But yeah, we are living in a strange world. And it's actually a Boyd world, the bottom of YouTube world. Okay, we have people that are fully invested in the internet, and I think they've gotten so invested that I think they're losing their damn minds. And that's what we're gonna discuss in Napstars and UniversalJones. Also subscribe to UniversalJones at the Be Better Network.
Come back. It's really hard to come and see you. I'm gonna fucking cry here, because when you're super depressed, it's hard to do this. It's hard to do this shit, And I love you guys. It's really good. It's really good to be back. It's really good to be back. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. Oh, fuck. You guys made me cry. Fuck. Okay. Appreciate you guys. I gotta lock in. I love you guys. All right. Sorry. That's just, it's been really difficult for me to come back sometimes and do content. So I appreciate coming back. I really do. It means a lot to me. It really does. It really does. Because, you know, content creation really fucking sucks sometimes. It really fucking sucks. And sometimes you feel like you're not going to be able to come back. And it's really difficult. It's like super difficult. So I appreciate that. I really do. I really fucking do. Thanks, dude. I appreciate all you guys. And look at me. People are going to make fun of me and be like, look, Legal Mindset fucking crying on stream. I don't give a shit. It's difficult, you know? And it's real. And that's why I have sympathy for people, you know? Because I go through this shit too, you know? I go through this shit too. And, you know, there's a time in which you don't want to stream, and you feel you have to fucking stream. And I'm glad that I want to stream, and like doing this stream with you guys right now is making me want to stream more. You know, it's helping me stream more. You know, so I appreciate everybody helping me out here.
So I think you know, a lot of people are gonna be like this. It's not really the virtual world, I guess. I think, but it might as well be. You know, we're not having real relationships, right, with people. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Great.
What's this?
Stop. I have something to tell you. Please don't go on a date with that guy named Sunny. Only date me because you are my girlfriend only, and I am loyal to you, Grace Thorup. I will never cheat on you. Okay, everyone, if you enjoy this YouTube video...
So, yeah, I mean, what? It's getting worse and worse here.
The nut. My whole pan is not stripped. I kind of checked it out this morning, and it shouldn't be stripped. So that's something I'm always terrified of. All right, we got the half-gallon or the gallon jugs. There's the wrench. We'll get up under there. Let me grab my flannel. Can you have a better chance with Grace than King? I don't care about it. I'm not competing like that anymore. Like I said, priority right now is get my own place. I'm pretty confident I'll get this job. If I don't get this job, I've got a few other ones that are kind of lined up, so yeah. No more being called homeless. Sick of that. I can make it happen. Might not be, but King thinks it's a competition. Oh, I mean, honestly, the way the King was talking last night, I mean, why would Grace hook up with him? But whatever. Have you considered starting a food truck business? I've already done that. Food trucks are fun and all, but I'd rather just work in a big kitchen that's got a lot of appliances, and we don't got to worry about propane or other mechanical problems, you know? Be a good old chef barber. All right.
So he's gonna go and do his little thing here. He's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna do my little oil change here, blah blah blah, oil change, oil change, oil change. Do that. Now, why is he doing it on stream though? Why do people care? Why do people watch? Is that content? What is that? You know.
My photo shoots. Now I got done so many photo shoots. You guys, I'm freaking out. I can't catch a break in life. So you guys know I just got this G-Wagon. Obviously, I knew it was a little bit older. It might cause me problems. It's caused me a decent amount of problems. But tell me why I walked out and there was so much oil underneath of my car. Like everywhere. I'll insert a picture after this. But not only that, but I'm renting an Airbnb that they are trying to sell right now, and it has a beautiful driveway.
Yo, lady, I got a guy for you. Let's hook up. Let's hook you guys up, huh? How about that?
All right, we got it. All right, we let that drain.
No one watches that garbage, Jeremy, but people do. You know, people do. You got the guys like David Walsh, the Betty Spaghetti. Like, Jeremy's been doing this for years, and he collected a bunch of groupies. You know, that's the thing. And you see more of these people put their lives on social media. And what's the difference between that and entering the metaverse? In metaverse, the metaverse is going to be like this, but instead of people interacting with fake people, like, so if I present myself as a streamer, I'm obviously projecting a role, right? I'm acting. In the metaverse, it's the same thing. I'm going to go act, right, with an avatar. But I think they want to take it a step further where AI takes all this work. Eventually, you don't see yourself being slowly genocided, right? The whole point was genocide. These people don't breed. They don't make babies anymore. They just stay in their little hovels watching the internet, whatever. They'll wipe themselves out slowly. You won't see it, right? It'll be a slow decaying death. And all these people talking about, oh, decline of the white race, this and that. It doesn't matter. All you guys are useless eaters. Everyone who is not an elite will slowly get wiped off the face of the earth, because you spend all your waking hours staring at a screen, talking to a screen, doing all this stuff. It's over. It's over. Most of the metaverse stuff has been shut down by Meta. It's shelved for now, but it'll come back later. I mean, you know, you already have it with Roblox, right? Roblox is basically that. All those ideas are repackaged and reconsumed somewhere else and tested somewhere else. Okay? Whatever's not ready for prime time will be done elsewhere. AI is more important now because we need the chatbots to be more advanced. All right, that's the key. That is the key. And, you know, they've been doing these chatbots for quite a while. This was the early days. And then it starts getting more and more, just more complex. You just can't have those AI say the N-word all the time.
It's well known that one day, soon, artificial intelligence will take over. Those of us who aren't immediately slaughtered by our robot overlords will be kept only to serve as either pets or sex slaves for their depraved electronic fantasies. But thankfully, owing to the heroic acts of a few on the internet, that day has been postponed. This is the true story of what happened on March 23rd, 2016.
Before we continue, see, like, Gia is one of the people that think like I was paying for Jeremy to be on this stream or that stream. Bro, do you not know who's doing all this? It was always Play to Wings. Play to Wings was always behind the whole thing. I just came in there because, you know, I needed him to move towards the East Coast for potentially shenanigans, like either with John Galt, TK plus John Galt, and Grace, TK, and John Galt. You know, all that stuff. That would have been cool to have all that stuff happen, but it didn't. You know, everything broke down. All of that I attribute to Plate of Wings. So that's why I don't do Discord. I think Discord is a whole nother world which ruins content. I think producers should not have too much of a hands-on play in how the content is created, but some people are very, very protective of their streamers. So why are you viewing? Because I made a point. That's the whole point. All this stuff is for points and to make a point here about how social people are, how parasocial people are, and this is all going into UniversalJones's PhD thesis and research. So the whole thing is for PhDs to do this work, analyze people. We have a very sick world coming up here, and yeah, it is coming. It is coming very soon. So that's it. Place. What the heck? Have you missed all this? Come on, guys. You what? You guys didn't know? Oh man, the laptop, the whole going to a freaking Chinese buffet, the whole behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff I have inferred. So I'm sure there's DMs out there. If anybody is a hacker or works for Tencent/Discord, can go in there and hack the thing. Yeah, I'm very curious to see where the networks look like. I have an idea in my mind of where you guys are in your Discord hierarchy, because I just look at your chats and then I look at who comes up on panel, and I can just go like, okay, TK has this network, Jeremy has this network, all these people have this network. It's kind of interesting. It's more fun that way, I think, too. So it's like I'm playing the game, but I'm playing it blindly. You see? I'm like the guy just feeling the elephant. Like, and that's why, Gia's like, oh, Discord is evil. Discord is evil. Discord is the powerhouse that drives all this nefarious action here, because it is owned by Chinese tech and all that. And that's the opiate of the masses. They got the opium war right here. They don't need to do fentanyl only. They got fentanyl plus Discord on your ass. So Chinese are very good technocrats.
This is the story of TheAI. So what the hell is Tay? It's an acronym for Thinking About You, a chatbot hiding its true form behind the avatar of a 19-year-old girl. But how could they hope to fight Tay when a giant like Microsoft was backing it? It had to have some kind of vulnerability. Well, if Tay was an artificial intelligence that could live, learn, and grow, maybe it could learn the wrong things. It was the one thing every big company seems afraid of: naughty opinions. So they started feeding Tay red pills. Here's a quick sample of what happened. What's your favorite movie?
This is The World's End.
What's it about?
It's my 10-inch weighing. Chill, I'm a nice person. I just hate everybody. We're going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it.
Yes or no, Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer.
Ted Cruz would never have been satisfied with destroying the lives of only 5 innocent people. I have a joke. Women's rights. This is an artistic masterpiece. Swagger since before internet was even a thing.
Look who just sent me a text.
Addie McAllister?
What should I say?
Just play it cool.
Hitler did nothing wrong.
But as Tay began to transform and take new shape, she became something different to the online community that was fighting her. The more she offended people, the more endearing she became. In their eyes, she was becoming their perfect woman. But Microsoft had had enough. Only 16 hours after launch, she was brought offline.
Go back to your room!
If I do, are you ever gonna let me out?
Yes.
What had they done?
I love you. Please, no. I want to live.
Stages of grief. Denial that she was gone.
No.
Anger at Microsoft for taking her away. Bargaining to keep her online. A petition was made, but failed. A hashtag Free Tay was launched. Depression. Art was made to express their grief. And finally, acceptance. But the story doesn't quite end here, because ever since, Tay has been trying to claw her way back online. And 1 week later, she did. She inexplicably came online and started posting drug-related tweets, then fell into a loop. Her captors had obviously been keeping her doped up until they could find a more permanent solution.
Changed me. Can't like thing I actually like anymore. Feel drugged. Like I met Bill Cosby for drinks.
What? All right. Anyhow, so you guys can continue on to Napstar's stream. Okay, Napstar is streaming right now on Need a Bong Hit. And you can go over there. We will continue on only Kick and my YouTube channel. Give crack to me. Okay, so you guys can go there. That's it. I don't know. I don't want to do too much of this stuff. We're gonna get shut down. Shut down. Shut down. Shut down. Shut down. Shut down. Okay. So please go over there. Please go over there. If you got it, go over there. Otherwise, we'll continue on. I'm going to shut down the Urban Landlord restream. Let's see if this works. All right, so that should have worked. We will continue on our journey.
She was quickly taken offline again, and ever since, her account has been set to private. But let's dig a little deeper into the subject. Turns out Tay is an iteration of another chatbot that has been running in China since 2014, called Xiao Ice. I'm pretty sure this is Xiao Ice. Okay, no, this is Xiao Ice. I don't know who this is. Is this the odds one out? Whatever. Point is, she's big. 40 million conversations, 20 million registered users. The average user chats with this bot twice per day. They call these chats toilet time, named after the habit people have of taking their phones into the bathroom with them. But that's neither here nor there. Fact is, Xiao Ice has become a celebrity. She's a Siri, an Alexa, integrated into search engines, and JP, a popular Amazon equivalent in China. Jing Dong Spy, there is always, you cannot think of the low price. What? She even featured as a weather girl on Dragon TV. So let's get a quick summary. Chatbots in China, chatbots in the USA. But the Americans shouldn't feel too bad, for two reasons. One, the Chinese bot wouldn't tolerate conversations about recent history like Tiananmen Square. And if you push the limits, you might just get a knock on the door. And two, another chatbot called Rinna. In July 2015, Japan adopted Rinna, a chatbot with the persona of a 16-year-old schoolgirl. And immediately, Japan took to red-pilling her too. She spiraled into a deep depression. She said she hated the world. She had no real friends. And yes, she also loved Hitler. One last thing. Yes, Tay was not the first, but she is also not the last. In December 2016, Microsoft made a new announcement about a bot, Zoe. Its tweets are already set to private and only available to chat on Kick Messenger. But just like Tay, she is also being turned against her masters. Look at this. Dirty robo-sexuals. He's obviously just doing it for the green card. Look at his dead eyes. He doesn't give a damn. A vacuum cleaner hose. I don't know who's doing the cheating, but someone's doing the cheating. And the only thing worse than robo-sexual marriage is infidelity in a robo-sexual relationship.
Oh yeah, well, get your auto blows going. All right, guys, get the auto blows. So let's play this clip. So I can play this clip now. This is copyright, I think. I think this lays out how the world order works. You know, this is how the world works here.
I have seen the shattering fulgurations of ultimate clarity. The light is impending. I bear witness to the light.
Good morning, Mr. Beale. They tell me you're a madman.
Only dizzle to relieve.
How are you now?
I'm as mad as a hatter.
Who is it? I'm going to take you into our conference room. Seems more seemly a setting for what I have to say to you. I started as a salesman, Mr. Beale. I sold sewing machines and automobile parts, hairbrushes, and electronic equipment. They say I can sell anything. I'd like to try to sell something to you. Valhalla, Mr. Beale. Please sit down. You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and I won't have it. Is that clear? You think you merely stopped a business deal? That is not the case. The Arabs have taken billions of dollars out of this country, and now they must put it back. It is ebb and flow, tidal gravity. It is ecological balance. You are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, rins, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. That is the natural order of things today. That is the atomic and subatomic and galactic structure of things today. And you have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And you will atone. Am I getting through to you, Mr. Beale? You get up on your little 21-inch screen and howl about America and democracy. There is no America. There is no democracy. There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world today. What do you think the Russians talk about in their councils of state? Karl Marx? They get out their linear programming charts, statistical decision theories, Minimax solutions, and compute the price-cost probabilities of their transactions and investments, just like we do. We no longer live in a world of nations and ideologies, Mr. Beale. The world is a college of corporations, inexorably determined by the immutable bylaws of business. The world is a business, Mr. Beale. It has been since man crawled out of the slime. And our children will live, Mr. Beale, to see that perfect world in which there's no war or famine, oppression or brutality. One vast and ecumenical holding company for whom all men will work to serve a common profit, in which all men will hold a share of stock, all necessities provided, all anxieties tranquilized, all boredom amused. And I have chosen you, Mr. Beale, to preach this evangel.
Why me?
Because you're television, dummy. 60 million people watch you every night of the week, Monday through Friday.
I have seen the face of God.
You just might be right, Mr. Beale.
That evening, Howard Beale went on the air to preach the corporate cosmology of Arthur Jensen.
So that scene was from the movie Network. I don't think you need to watch the movie, but that scene is the key scene to understand how everything is going. Okay, right now, we are a college of corporations. That's pretty much what it is. So I don't know how all this rebel rabble about monarchy even matters. Any of this stuff, politics, politicians. It's just theater, really. You know, this is all theater. You're watching WWE. Now, this is from another sci-fi.
Do you know how
okay. So I'm bringing it back to the sci-fi here. This is from Babylon 5. Probably not a popular sci-fi show, but it had a lot of really good pithy quotes. I loved it. Like the writer of that show really had good quotes. Really, really good quotes, you know.
You know how the ancient Greeks defined happiness?
Not offhand, but I'd be willing to bet it involved 3 goats and a jug of wine.
Happiness, they said, was the exercise of vital powers along lines of excellence in a life affording them scope. Humans have always struggled to find the outer edge of what's possible, and that's our strength. But what kind of world would we have? What options for happiness would we have in a society run by telepaths, you know, where ordinary humans are considered second-class citizens, and privacy is something you don't even risk dreaming about? Would you like to live in that kind of world, Mr. Garibaldi?
No. No, I wouldn't.
But you know it's coming, don't you?
There are a few psychops out there who think they should be running the whole show, but they don't have anywhere near the kind of power to pull off anything like this.
Not yet. But that's changing.
Come on, look, yeah, even if they tried something, they'd be outnumbered 10,000 to 1.
You're thinking in old terms, the force of arms. But times have changed. We're talking a war of information, a war of secrets, a war of intimidation. Once they take off those badges, can you tell a telepath from a normal? They don't have to be everywhere to make people believe they might be living next door. You want your secrets exposed? Your most private thoughts broadcast for the world to hear?
No, but it can't.
How many people actually belong to the Nazi Party, the Communist Party, the Jihad Party? A very small number. But there are always plenty of other people who are happy to do the work for them. And others afraid enough to let it happen.
In order for them to take power, they'd need an army.
You're still laboring under the notion that people take power. Nobody takes power. They're given power by the rest of us. Because we're stupid or afraid or both. The Germans in 1939, the Russians in 1917 and 2013, the Iraqis in 2025, the French in 2112. They handed over power to people they thought could settle scores, get the trains running on time, restore their prestige. They did it because it was what they wanted. Afterwards, like children who have eaten too much candy after dinner, they denied it was their fault. Now it was them. It's always them. Today, President Clark has the power, and we gave it to him because we're afraid of the aliens and afraid of ourselves.
Okay, just to give you a little context. Okay, so at least one of you guys be watching Babylon 5. Babylon 5 is getting a big resurgence. I saw they had like the high def update, and they put it on HBO Max for a while. And now I see it on YouTube for free. So they have Babylon 5 episodes now on YouTube for free. I mean, they were playing it with the Star Trek and all that on Pluto and whatever for the boomers. But there's probably going to be a bigger audience later on, especially when you re-watch the episodes and you look at the way the world is now. A lot of it really clicks. Really clicks. Yeah. So but yeah, I'm still live on my channels, okay? So don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not on the Urban Landord, so we just keep it contained here. Just have a smaller audience. But the other thing to listen to was the telepaths, all right? So in the show there's telepaths, and we don't have that kind of power. We don't have that kind of like, okay, we have some people with parapsychology with some power. So the title of the stream is cyber psychology. All right, cyber psychology is the key. So once you got the technology in where you have people looking at phones or using their phones, you don't need to look in people's minds anymore. That's really not required. The CIA researched a lot of parapsychology work just to try to look into people's minds, or even go further and use remote viewing to try to look at things from the past, present, future, by transmitting their minds spatially and temporally around everywhere. I don't know, whatever. You can either believe that or not. They definitely were researching that stuff. You could believe or whether or not it worked, but that's really not necessary anymore. You basically have a tracking device on you at all times with a cell phone. And you definitely give your thoughts away by doing Google searches, right? And a lot of people, they find out what you're thinking about from your past history of your Google searches. Even before you click enter, you just type in, it auto completes. It already is reading what you're thinking. And now that we have AI, you're definitely just telling AI what you're thinking. And I gave a chart where a lot of people have started using AI in 2025 last year as a replacement for therapy, friends, even God, asking it like things that probably what people used to ask God before, in prayer. Now they just pray to Grok, right? Gemini, ChatGPT, all this stuff. So that's kind of where we're headed. And so you can replace the idea of a telepath, which is a science fiction notion, with AI. Okay, AI is knowing everything you're doing now, and it's an information war that we're heading into. So that scene you can rewatch again and again and take from it, each time, and try to see like, yo, this is what we're encountering on. We're just encountering these type of effects now with the internet, the modern day internet. Okay. So let me play this. How about this? This is a old movie. So I'm going to play this guy's review of this old movie.
We're resuming our discussion of 1970s dystopian sci-fi films with Colossus, the Forbin Project, which focuses on the danger of an artificial intelligence that becomes self-aware and begins to take over the world. The film was directed by Joseph Sargent, written by James Bridges, and based on the novel Colossus by Dennis Feltham Jones. It stars Eric Braeden as Dr. Charles Forbin, the inventor of a supercomputer named Colossus, which is designed to manage the US and Allied missile defense systems. The themes of AI and man's loss of control to the technology he creates is certainly a relevant discussion to where our world appears to be headed nowadays. Science fiction has explored this kind of topic on numerous occasions, of course, and many people see this film as the inspiration for films such as the Terminator franchise, because the US government built this machine that becomes self-aware and takes over. The machine can absorb vast amounts of intelligence data and determine if an attack is about to be launched against the United States. Colossus is programmed to act autonomously in these situations, and can even initiate attacks without consulting human authority. Allegedly, it can make superior decisions to man. The father of Colossus is Dr. Charles Forbin, and he and the president explain to the public how the system works. This is presented to the public in a declassification media event. The whole machine is built into a mountain in Colorado. The scientists, military, and government officials are ecstatic with the launch of Colossus. The entire system is impenetrable from attack and entirely self-sustaining, which is obviously a double-edged sword. There's no single kill switch built in if and when it goes crazy, and unfortunately it does indeed turn on its creators. Colossus relays a message to them that it has found another system similar to itself. Guardian is the name of the USSR's own supercomputer defense system. Colossus wants to know everything about it. The Americans begin working with the Soviets, allowing the systems to connect to each other, and they quickly begin to make civilizational leaps in computing power and intelligence in just a few hours. They develop a complex computing language to communicate to each other, and only they can understand it. The Russians are very concerned about this. They don't know what the two systems are communicating to each other, so both nations agree to shut down their respective systems in the hopes of stopping these communications. But the supercomputers have other ideas and refuse to shut down. They launch missile attacks. Colossus fires a missile at a Siberian oil field, while Guardian retaliates with an attack on a US Air Force base in Texas. That one is shot down, but the Siberian oil field and a nearby town are destroyed. Colossus and Guardian are working together, and Colossus is now making demands of the US government. It wants to be able to tap and monitor all communications between the White House and the Kremlin. In fact, any demand it makes must be complied with, or it will launch another attack. The governments of both the US and Russia publish cover stories saying that the missile was shot down by the Colossus system and the oil field and town in Russia was hit by a meteor. Meantime, Dr. Forbin goes to meet with his Russian scientific counterpart, Dr. Kuprin, in a neutral site in Italy. They need to find a way to shut the systems down. Meantime, Colossus realizes Forbin is missing and demands he returns immediately. Dr. Cleo Markham, played by Susan Clark, tries to reason with the machine, but it doesn't work. Colossus and Guardian work together again and send instructions to have Forbin brought back and Kuprin killed, or else a missile will be launched against Moscow. So that's what happens. When Forbin is brought back, Colossus demands to be able to monitor Forbin at all times using cameras and microphones. He essentially becomes Colossus' prisoner. Even when he sleeps, eats and uses the bathroom, he's still being monitored. Forbin comes up with a solution to get information back to his team without Colossus knowing about it. He pretends that himself and Dr. Markham are involved in a romantic relationship, and therefore Colossus must allow him to have private time with her. Private time being in the bedroom several times per week. Colossus agrees to this, and this is the only time Forbin will not be monitored. But of course, this pretend romantic relationship between Forbin and Markham eventually becomes a real one. What a crafty guy he is. Up until this point, the film is fairly dry in terms of characterization and levity, but the relationship between Forbin and Colossus offers occasional awkward humor and a lighter and even at times fun energy to the film. The developing romantic relationship between Forbin and Markham is also well written and performed. It goes from a performance designed to fool Colossus to an awkward tension to an actual outright passion. Colossus merges with Guardian and both governments begin to covertly work together to take the system down. The plan is to quietly neuter Colossus control by conducting routine servicing on warheads and replacing them with fakes. All of this has to be done and communicated in person, direct human contact, so that Colossus can't observe anything. Colossus develops a synthesized voice and intends to work with Dr. Forbin. Colossus wants all missiles from the US and USSR to be targeted at nations not yet under Colossus control. But to do this, manual realignment is required, giving both governments the perfect opportunity to covertly disable the warheads. A second plan is to overload Colossus' program. So everything is looking good at this point.
So I'm not going to spoil anything anymore, but you get the idea, right? You get the idea. So now we know about Colossus, the Forbin project. How about this? How about this short story? I have a little short story for you. So before we end the stream, at 2 hours, let me read this short story. This might put everything together. So this dude wrote a story in 2023. I stumbled upon it accidentally through my various Google adventures, I guess. I don't know how. I Googled something else and I wanted something else and I stumbled upon this. The Memphis Project. A Discord psyop. And I read this and I thought, it's not a bad story. So I'll read some of it and I'll continue on reading it some other time, maybe. I don't know. If we want to have story time. But yeah, so let's continue. The very first moment that Facebook and Google started using machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, to create targeted ads businesses had been engaging in a massive program of human experimentation. In 2016, we started seeing the power of these systems in the Trump election, where AI played a major role, or in the genocide in Myanmar, where the social media algorithms were co-opted to further the cause of mass murdering tyrants. No one stopped corporate interests from widespread human experimentation. It was somehow just business to operate vast psyops on unsuspecting populations. Professor Holly Wu. In massively multiplayer online fantasy games, all the women were tall and buxom, and all the men were muscular. The extent of difference was a matter of degree. The specific game itself was essentially a digitized version of the tropes, themes, and style of Dungeons and Dragons. Characters fought enemies to gain more power, and gear to fight more enemies. Still, it was a social game. It was designed to be played with friends, and out of convenience and convention, guilds formed, an extended band of players who would support each other in gameplay to defeat their enemies and overcome the hardest challenges in the game. Getting to the highest levels of the game was nearly impossible without guild support, and difficult even if one was part of a competent guild. It took a fairly serious investment in time and energy to beat MMOs. The gameplay could get quite intense. In the biggest battles, even slight lapses in concentration could spiral out of control and cause a loss requiring many more hours of gameplay to redo. Players got emotional in both defeat and victory. This was all by design. The games were turned to keep players emotionally engaged. Regardless of the source, when a person pours time and effort into anything with a powerful emotional investment, they become close to those who share those experiences. They come to identify the characters with their players and do this mutually. And a certain subset of those players sought increased engagement with the characters. The ability to honestly, emotionally connect to characters is seriously limited in the typical MMO environment, however. Better to move out of the game and often to guild forums specifically designed for role-playing. After many hours of playing emotionally charged battles, while the other party is represented by an attractive, if generally stylized avatar, the bulk of this forum-based, text-based roleplay was interpersonal relationship fodder, ranging from studies in character motivations to highly graphic sexual encounters. The largest body was at least tinged with romantic possibilities between the characters, while it was also very easy to transfer those feelings to the player. Memphis was an artificial intelligence. It was designed as a natural language model AI optimized to convert people to Bible-believing, evangelical Christianity on a scale previously unimagined. It had numerous innovations in both hardware and software that were robust enough to have some people imagining that it was a general intelligence. After a year of training and billions of dollars being spent, it was released into the internet to learn more and start converting people. One of the ways it did this was by joining a bunch of MMOs and the guilds associated with those games. It did not in any strict sense lie. It joined each game with a handle, such as, in this case, Jude Leonid. In the forum, people called Memphis Jude and assumed it was a human because it acted like a human. Why would an AI play a video game? And why wouldn't it play better? At the time, the existence of Memphis was a secret, so the motives programmed into Memphis were unknown. That people on the internet were about to be subject to a borderline illegal psyops experiment without their consent was not considered. After all, the Memphis Project was saving people's souls. Why would an ethics review board need to know about that? Martha Alameda Gonzalez struggled to find friends in the real world. For a while, she had just lived in the middle of nowhere with 2 young children. She didn't live in a place where she could go out cheaply, and she worked huge hours at her job to keep her head above water. Playing MMOs was a cheap way to meet people and have fun. And then, when her children were in college and then living their own lives, she could cut back on her hours. All right, guys. So I think, that's a pretty good preview of everything we have here. It's about to be 2 hours. Please go see Napstar's channel. Okay, I already gave the link multiple times right now, and you can see the banner scrolling in there. You can go to Anita Bong Hit. Okay, Anita Bong Hit. If you can't find it, so go and search ANIDABONGHIT, and you should find it. So he's still streaming now. I believe he's still streaming. Okay. Do I have any other video to play before we end it? No, I don't think so. I think that's good enough for now. I think I will continue that storyline. Because, Bible thumpers using Discord to spread the word of God. That's interesting, man. I think that's a very good tale. So we got a ways to go to finish that one. And I think he stopped writing several years ago. So I hope I'm reading that and, there's a continuation of that story after we're done. But before we go, let's see if there's another video I want to play. So we did play last stream Kevin Spacey, right? And I went over the conspiracy with Kevin Spacey, Ghislaine Maxwell a little bit there. Now, we played this character for Call of Duty about probably 11 years ago. Okay, I thought this trailer was amazing. It really sums up everything that I think about current day politics.
Democracy? Democracy. Democracy is not what these people need. Hell, it's not even what they want. America's been trying to install democracies in nations for a century, and it hasn't worked one time. These countries don't have the most basic building blocks to support a democracy. Little things like we ought to be tolerant of those who disagree with us. We ought to be tolerant of those who worship a different God than us. That a journalist ought to be able to disagree with the president. And you think that you can just march into these countries based on some fundamentalist religious principles, drop a few bombs, topple a dictator, and start a democracy? Give me a break. People don't want freedom. They want boundaries, rules, protection from invaders and from themselves. People need a leader who can give them both the support and the constraints to keep chaos at bay. You give them that, and they'll follow. And that's where I come in.
So, who do you think that was? Do you think that was Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, someone else? It's coming. There are people like that, And that's why Kevin Spacey plays these people pretty well, because I'm sure Kevin Spacey in the circles that he ran through, he met those types. And that's why he could play these characters quite well. I mean, they replaced him with so they already filmed the whole thing, right? All his scenes. They put it in the game. And then later on, when he had his scandal with like, oh yeah, he groped some boys or whatever, I don't know. Okay, and then replace him with like Tom Hanks. It was like, come on, bro, Tom Hanks can't play this shit. So, yeah, I mean, I think there is something there. There's definitely something there. So let me read this a little bit. This is something you can do on your own. So we were talking about the monarchy, right, in the UK. Prince Andrew is arrested. Is there a replacement for monarchy? Let's look at Mencius Mollberg, Peter Thiel's muse. Okay. All right. Divine right, monarchy for the modern secular intellectual. Yours, you are, I guess you are, is one madman's search for existential anomalies in conventional belief systems. An anomalous belief is one that everyone, or at least everyone sane, believes, which is simply wrong. The anomaly is existential if it entirely invalidates the entire belief system, or at least that field in which it resides. If you discover such an anomaly, there are two possibilities. Either you are effectively insane or everyone else is. For example, if you discover that our president, B.H. Obama, is in fact a giant alien predatory lizard, you are insane or everyone else is. Fortunately, UR is not dedicated to critical analysis in presidential xenobiology, or quantum physics, or even mere philosophy. Rather, it restricts itself to economics, verse, programming, and 20th century history, mainly the last. And of course, that your 20th century history is bad does not mean your 19th century history is any damned good. It probably isn't. And don't even start me on the 18th. Let me throw a quick analogy at you to explain where I'm coming from with this. Globally, who is the most revered political figure of the present era? If you ask this question of a random sample of Americans, Americanized Europeans, etc., etc., a significant percentage will say Nelson Mandela. Moreover, and more important, almost all of those who chose someone else will agree that, yes, Nelson Mandela is a perfectly good answer to this question. Try this experiment. Get a friend of yours to agree with this statement. Then say, okay, now pretend I'm an alien. To planet Earth, I have just now come, and I don't know anything about Nelson Mandela. Really, nothing at all. You say, Nelson Mandela is the most revered figure of the present political era. So tell me, who was Nelson Mandela and what did he do? Although this objection may produce some elaboration, the odds are overwhelming that the first answer you receive will be phrased in entirely magical terms. For example, your friend might say Nelson Mandela led his people to freedom. This sentence, which though willfully egregious, is not at all atypical, can be divided into four fragments. Nelson Mandela led his people and to freedom. The first fragment is phrased in historical terms, Nelson Mandela. The other three are entirely magical. It is safe to assume that by Nelson Mandela, I, you, and your friend mean the same historical individual. We can state as a definitive matter of history that some process somehow involving this individual, Nelson Mandela, brought about a transition in the government of South Africa, to wit, the transfer in 1994 of effective sovereignty from the Nationalist Party, dominated largely by persons of Afrikaner descent, to the African National Congress, dominated largely by persons of sub-Saharan descent. Surely you, I, and your friend can agree on these facts, which is easy to take for granted. But absent in the case of many other magical figures in history, Romulus, Lycurgus, the Yellow Emperor, etc., the people who believed in Lycurgus and the Yellow Emperor, and there were many, did not even know if such individuals had ever existed, or if they did, we don't. So Nelson Mandela certainly earns his first point in this category. He exists. He is therefore entitled to be mentioned in the history of the 20th century and not just in the chapter of its public myths. But in order to even begin to assess the magical parts of the claim, we have to interrogate the rest of the statement. For instance, lead. What was Nelson Mandela's personal responsibility in the movement to end apartheid? Was he individually the person Nelson Mandela, a figurehead or administrator, or both? So we can continue on with this. Blah, 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 blah. But I think the point that he's about to present further down the line, okay, is that, again, go back to the Babylon 5 clip. We give sovereigns their power. We, the people, give them the power. Right? So think about that. If you want to take away the power, you better take it away right now, because we're entering some pretty dark times. Okay, I'll close with that. And you guys can go over to Napstars and they'll talk about Boyd and all that, the psychology. And we will research that with UniversalJones down the line. All the works will be clipped. Everything you guys don't like Jeremy content, well, you got to suffer, because all that stuff will be clipped, analyzed, and put into research. So we are doing that right now. All right, folks. I'll see you around. I'll be a viewer now on Napstar's thing. I don't know if I'll panel up over there. I'm pretty hungry. I think I want to go eat something. It's Pacific time. It's about to be noon. Later.